So everybody, I took a ride this morning over to John's house because I, like a lot of the viewers, have only seen his efforts in video. He's at my house all the time, but I don't have opportunity to get over to his house as often as I should. But I really want to show everybody what a phenomenal job he's doing here. This is no joke. This is a frame that I pulled out of the woods along with the other El Caminos. That body, John's over there cleaning up, that body sat on that frame. Dragged this car out of the woods, and here we go, right? My son pulled the motor out of this thing, and then John built this wonderful cart for the body and just got to work. And I know you've all seen it before, and this may not even shed new light, but it is my intention to shed some new light here and maybe show some detail stuff. This is really coming out very, very nice. Very nice. And you can definitely tell that he's taking his time to not mark things up, not smash it all together. You know, it's coming out the way it's supposed to be coming out. So if this is an indicator, everybody, of what you can turn something into, I know everybody has seen the Mr. Jones car and said, oh my gosh, you're really saving that thing. That is so far from detailed. This is the stuff we really like to do. This is great, great, great stuff. Hats off to you, brother. You done good, kid.
Thank you.
All right, let's stop patting ourselves on the back and get to work. We just got back from John's house. Took a look for the first time since he's got the suspension parts back on the frame. He's really doing a great job. He really is. And it was good for me to go over there, take some time to go see what he's got going on, because I, like everybody else, have only seen it on video. And he works so close to here, so he's here a lot. I'm not at his house a whole lot. But in any case, I want to get back on Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, we're going on probably a month here since I've had a lot of time to put into the car. And that's just the reality of doing this. I'm sure anybody with a big project can understand that, you know, sometimes you're killing it. Sometimes you're literally thrashing. And other times you're just without time. So what I want to do is get back on the car, explain to you guys where I'm going to head now with respect to detailing some of the stuff we've done. And I don't want to get into any continued celebration about all the work that we've gotten accomplished on the car. Let's talk about what we have to do to cross some T's and dot some I's. So like I always do, I'm going to turn the camera around so you get a better look at what I'm looking at, and we'll go from there. All right, so here we are, and everybody who's been watching, again, for those of you who've been with us the whole time, really, really, really appreciative of all of that. But I don't want to leave the project in limbo. So let's concentrate on what we have to do in the way of details. Real quick, the A-pillar trim comes down. A-pillar trim comes down the pillars, and I've kind of drawn a line here where the A-pillar trim stops and the dash pad is up here, but the dash is visible once the glass is in between these lines. So this I want to finish up the welds a little bit better, because you'll see that. I got to weld the roof support in place. We're going to kind of start the top half of the car here, working our way down, and just start detailing a lot of things along the way with a plan of prepping and getting some color on the firewall, getting some color on the package tray. So that's where I want to be, because I want to start really, really getting the visual for both you guys, and myself, and of course Joe and John, you know, what things look like in a relative finished product. So I'm going to get to work pulling the glass back out, which is really no big deal, but literally picking it up. This belongs to my El Camino, so it's got to go back out there. Get the seats out of the car, door panels back out, put them away. We don't need them anytime soon, so they may as well get out of the way and be safe. All right, I'll do that and just kind of bring you along. This is going to be a video that's probably going to take 4, 5, or 6 of my visits in the garage here to get you guys a pretty comprehensive video. So it won't be a video showing every little step. It'll just be a video showing what I've gotten after a collective list of visits, I guess. All right, let me get to work. This is part of the project that I've been dreading. I know it's silly. Look at all that broken glass in the doors. You see that in there? That's from when the windows were shattered. Yuck, but no better time like the present. So let me get the shop vac going and just clean all that crud out of there. For real. That's a whole lot of glass in there. Not exciting at all, but look what I have to do. This is just kind of coming to my memory here. Same things I had to repair in Alyssa's doors. This is the top where the weather stripping comes up and it just kind of pins into place right there. Rotted. So we definitely have our work cut out for us on the sheet metal as well, on the body panels rather. Blah, blah, blah. Trunk, we got to source and repair. Doors we have to repair. So we are not done with metal work, everyone. We're just kind of wrapping up the metal work on saving the body shell. Lots to do on the rest of it. So I guess that's what wintertime is for, right? All right, we're gonna keep cleaning up here and I'm gonna stay the course and start welding this into place. I think my plan is that I'm gonna cut back the remainder of the original roof support so I can weld in. This is the new one. And I'll probably just drill some holes in that and then, weld that in place, plug weld that in place. So at least we'll regain the structure of that. Reminder of what we did in here to save the window channel on the inside. Came out pretty good. All right, again, back to crossing T's and dotting I's. This will close out my efforts for the day. I welded in the roof support, so that's good. That's in, that's permanent. That's a big improvement. I know you're never going to see it, but the original one was, certainly smashed down when the roof was caved in. Here's what I've done at the bottom of the dash and the bottom of the original A-pillar. A little bit more body work there, just so that it looks a little bit more finished. Obviously, I am going to put a little bit of, I'll use all metal on just some of those little pock marks that are there. This gives you an idea of what is left to be seen. Obviously, the windshield lays in this groove right here, and the lower windshield trim obviously covers all of that at the base of the dash. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I think that's going to be just fine. So we'll clean that all up. I'm going to just really try to maintain a practical level of forward progress here. The next thing I'll do is just do some final body work, like I said, with all metal on the dash. Clean that up. I think I'm going to start priming the dash. Then we're just going to work from the dash up and over down the firewall. Tis the plan. Tis the plan. Okay. Going to call it a day. I'll enter some of the efforts into the log. Final prep work has begun on the dash, cowl, and firewall area. I put a little bit of metal fortified filler in the welded area. Cleaned that all up a bit. Like I've said a million times, never to be seen, but at least we know that it's all smoothed out much, much more. Here's a cool thing. One of the things that I was looking forward to doing was delving into the RPO code C57, the forced ventilation code. And that's for these funky little blower motors, which I have to admit I've never seen before. This is the passenger side. And they really get installed up through the kick panel vent on the side. And they go up in there, and then this bad boy lives underneath the cowl like this. And you can clearly see that those holes are not machined or punched in. They're drilled with a drill bit, and then they're just held in there with these studs and nuts. Interesting is that this tab, see that mounting hole there? Differs from side to side in that there is a hole there, and on the passenger side is a Phillips screw from the outside. I guess with an attempt to fill the hole, maybe, I don't know. That's obviously not going to grab that, because on the driver's side, anyone can revert back to the other videos if they so chose to, was a screw coming from the inside out. That was a Phillips head screw. conveniently very similar to the one that was in the other part of the cowl. And I had to remove that from the inside because this side effectively was fastened to the inside of the cowl. Cool thing, look how the cowl tag has been actually damaged basically from putting on the nuts for these studs, for these secondary blower motors. So that definitely shows you that this cowl tag was installed on the car and that then RPO C57 was installed into the car. So pretty cool stuff. I've never seen them before. The only problem, not a problem, but yeah, broke a stud. Soaked them. Got it, started to turn and then snap hooey. No big deal. Again, we can repair that. We just gotta extract that stud, get another. We can put a bolt in there rather. So I'm gonna look at these things. I guess there's probably some sort of codes or something on them. They're not seized. They don't spin great. Delco products, 5044743, 13.5 volts. And these would be activated 5044743. So effectively, they are exactly the same blower motor. So there's no housing difference or anything. It's the same part number, which I guess makes sense. This bracket is obviously different. So this base plate, I guess, is what is different. And yeah, totally different, right? Look at that. See that and that? So, okay, we'll just know that broken stud, I'll put a piece of painter's tape on it, is driver's side. Pretty cool, huh? I mean, like I said, they're not seized. They're not doing great. Is there any vermin in there? Could be. So these will go back in, but obviously the studs will be detailed. This is all going to start looking like something totally different. And the plan is to actually have those blower motors working on their switch. All right, always more to come. For those who have done it, you know what I'm saying. For those who haven't, it doesn't look like that this is hours and hours and hours of work, but I'm here to tell you that it is. No original stamps were found on the firewall. I wish there were, but there weren't. Look at the wrinkles from the press making this firewall. When they stamped the firewall out, man, my car doesn't have those kind of wrinkles. But you can clearly see that this is factory smushage. That's a technical word, guys. Smush edge. So not the finished product, but certainly pretty far along. I did use some more of that all metal. The metal infused, actually it's not even all metal. It's a different brand. I guess we're having a problem with EPA maybe in all metal, but it is a metal infused filler just to fill some of these little fine weld marks. And down here along where the new floor meets the firewall, I did clean that seam up a bit. So this is looking okay. I'm gonna keep chipping away at it this week. I guess what I should do is get serious about re-seam sealing this seam. You can clearly see where, from the factory, it is seam sealed here. That gets done first. What I do want to do too is I really do want to clean this cowl tag up. I'm sure you guys have seen different car shows and whatnot. They just keep painting. Oh, there's Alyssa. She's home, so she's on video. They just keep painting the cowl tag and they build the paint up. And when they do that, you start losing the relief of the letters. So I want to kind of strip that tag down so we can clean that up. But I'm calling it a day. I got the hinges for the Pontiac soaking in the goulash. They're all cleaned up. I'm a disgusting disaster, I'm sure. So after a few more hours of working on the firewall here, I'm really starting to get serious about the final prep for a coated primer surfacer, filler. And it dawned on me that I never addressed the back center hood bumper. This is very, very common in these cars, guys. This metal on the cowl rips. And when it rips, that hood bumper flops around and effectively you can't really ever get it loose. It just can't happen. Let me see if I have it. Here it is right here. There it is. So this bad boy lives in here like this. And what they do is they put a captured nut in here. A captured nut is a nut that's on a little bit of a cage, and it just snaps in place. So on the assembly line, they can just thread the bumper in. What I'll do, because I don't mind working on it, you know, from the inside, I'm just gonna cut this piece of metal out. I'm gonna put a new piece of metal in there and drill a round hole for the shank of the new hood bumper when we get that. But I'm not gonna leave that and have that rattle around. That's annoying. So let's just do a little bit more cutting and welding. Probably not gonna do much video because everybody's seen me do that a bunch, but let's get that cleaned up. Again, everything looks better once you cut the rod out. There's the rod cut out. A nice perfect rectangle. Take your little sheet metal gauge. I got these on Amazon. Not a lot of money. I think a 6-pack of these was like $5 or something. 18 gauge. This is 18 gauge. I have a piece. Oh gosh, don't drop that down the cowl. I have a piece of 18 gauge left over from one of the fender patches from Alyssa's car. The Hail Mary convertible. So we'll just take this piece of metal. We'll clean this up. I already cut it off the donor piece. And we will insert said piece under here, trace it out, cut it. I might decide to drill it in the drill press so I don't risk bending anything, but let's clean it up, get it shaped up, and I'll show you how nicely it fits. A little bit of bench grinder, a little bit of die grinder. Take your piece of metal after cheating and catching up to it a little bit, filing here, filing there. No big deal, couple minutes. Why is this thing not focusing? There you have it, okay? There's a piece of metal that's gonna fit, and I cut it so that I can maintain the original crown. There's a little bit of a curve here. So I cut it so that I can maintain that crown. I can grind on that corner. So easy peasy, right? Now let's just get the welder. We'll tack this in place. Do a little bit of metal finishing there, because this really will have nothing but we'll have nothing but a screen that goes over this. Not a piece of plastic. These cars had just a piece of screen, which I have some of the original ones. So you'll see this. I want this to be nice. All right, let's get to tacking. Take a couple minutes and weld your patch in, and like Fitzy says from Fitzy's Fabrication, love that guy. Don't go crazy stacking dimes, guys. You don't need to worry about that. Make sure you get good penetration. Make sure you get your new metal married to the old metal effectively, because you're gonna metal finish this anyway. So even if you gotta tack some welds on top of welds where you think it's a little thin, do that, so now you can grind this up with some confidence that you're not going to grind through. Because remember, you just want to grind the weld. You don't want to grind the metal pieces, the actual sheet metal. You just want to grind the welds. So stack your welds up pretty strong, get good penetration, work on that, and then in theory, this will look almost like it never happened. Feels like it might be a little low right here, but nothing I can do about that now. I did use the blowgun here and really kept it cool while I was tacking it. But all right, let's clean this up and see how well I did or didn't do. Very careful grinding and sanding, and you end up with something like that. Now this is a pretty imperfect surface here, because you can see how from the factory they just really punch these holes open, and there's tears there, and there's another spot here where it's really wrinkly. So you can't really expect yourself to make this like it never happened, because it was never perfect to begin with. So what I do is I just take my cutoff wheel and I just hit the tops of the welds just to get the majority of that cleaned up. Then you take a nice one of these 36 grit. Yeah, take a nice 36 grit on your 90 degree, and then just kind of clean that up a little bit. And what I'll probably do is take my file now and just kind of really give that a little bit more of an even spot. I know I'm going to put some metal finish, metal putty in there, just to even out some of those little nicks in there that I really don't feel like welding all these little things up. I mean, they are literally, the size of a pencil tip. So I don't want to get the welder back out and do all that, because as we've said before, the enemy of good is better. So let's just file this up. I'll put a little bit of putty here probably after I drill my hole, which I know is center here. I took some measurements before, so it's center of this vent, which is center of the windshield tab, where the dash tab mounts onto the cowl. Center and center, and I'll just drill a hole. It was easier to do it this way because I was afraid that if I drilled a hole on the drill press that it wouldn't dissipate heat at all, and that little thing would just burn through and weld, and I'm sure you guys agree that I made the right call there. So I'll clean that up a little bit with a file, drill a hole, and dress it with some putty. There's a quick little metal repair, guys. There's my center lines there for my measurement, and I put my 5/16 hole in for the new hood bumper. You can clearly see, you know, the weld line there. You can even you can feel it a little bit there, but come on, it's really pretty good. I'm just gonna put a little bit of filler in there. I don't really know why, because a screen lays on top of this and a big washer is there, but I guess I'm doing it just so I can do it. And then I really want to keep getting back on track here and continue prepping this. I want to get primer on this firewall here today and the dash. Wish me luck. Certainly really trying to make some progress here today. I have the car hanging from the ceiling, and I'm going to put some rust converter in these areas inside the body mount boxes that I really can't, you know, effectively sand and clean up. I'm going to do some of that. I'm going to put some seam sealer here where the factory had seam sealer. And then, quite honestly, guys, I think I'll bag the frame just so that we don't get any paint on the frame that has to get cleaned off again. Bag the body, and I think I'm going to start hitting this with some primer surfacer and see what I got here, okay? So this is going to be pretty exciting here, but this could be one of the last videos that we have of the firewall in a state of funk. So let's get to work. There's something that we haven't seen in a long time. The firewall and the dash all looking like something viable. So this is a coat of primer surfacer, primer filler. And I just kind of wanted to go over, you know, where we welded the dash in, try to fill some of those imperfections there. Then what I'll do is go over it with a nice coat of regular primer. Let that dry. And then I've decided to go with a semi-gloss here because semi-gloss will allow us to wipe it, keep it clean. That's what we did on the convertible. The flat on the firewall might be more correct with a semi-flat, but you just can't wipe it. It just gets chalky when you try to keep it wiped down. And we definitely intend to have this detailed engine compartment and undercarriage here. So I just wrapped the frame up, not because I was worried about getting paint on the frame. I don't want to have to worry about getting paint off the frame when we work on that, hopefully this winter. All right, let's let this tack up and dry. Then we'll put another coat of regular black primer on it, and that'll start looking like something, but I am going to set it down on the frame to do that. I just have this high so I could kind of get underneath the firewall there. And that is that. Pretty happy. There's the VIN, everybody. There it is. Saved. One piece. After that coat of primer surfacer, I used a regular automotive primer now in a flat black. That's going to help, I guess, even things out the way I'd like it to, so I don't see so many of the, you know, highs and lows of the repairs. You know, a lot of repairs went into this firewall by the heater box, by the steering column. There were a lot of repairs. Obviously, the seam along the floors. So I just want to even all that out, and of course, I wanted to prime the dash because that all gets painted. So over here, is the results of that dash repair. You know, I still see a couple little, man, I see them on the camera more than I see them in person. There's definitely a couple little dimples there we might have to do something about, but let's let this tack up. I gotta let this tack up for an hour. Then I can top coat it. Otherwise, I gotta wait for 2 days. So we're gonna put a top coat on it today and seal it in for good. I'm happy. Back to making progress on Mr. Jones, everybody. So that primer has flashed out really nicely and evenly. It says I can top coat. Really, guys, what I'm using, to be perfectly honest, the same thing I'm using on used on Alyssa's car. I use the Rust-Oleum professional grade of spray cans, and it's great. Good buddy Yolan actually turned me on to this stuff when I was doing Alyssa's car. We did her frame in that. We did portions of her firewall, her firewall, and portions of her floors in that, rather. And it's held up great. It goes on awesome. It goes on really, really well. As long as you prep the surface and you keep everything clean, it does a really good job. The issue is it smells like a body shop. So I can top coat within an hour. It's been about 40 minutes. So I'm gonna start doing the top coat here. And this is gonna be in semi-gloss black.